The Ancient Mariner, an unnaturally old and skinny person with a deeply tanned skin and a glittering eye. He stops a wedding guest who is on his way to a wedding reception, who compels him to sit and listen to his tale. When he was younger, the Ancient Mariner set sail with 200 other sailors from his native land. The day was sunny and clear, and all were in good cheer until the ship reached the equator. Suddenly, a terrible storm hit and drove the ship southwards into a rime, a strange, icy patch of ocean, until an albatross appeared out of the mist. The albatross flew alongside the ship, and the sailors treated it kindly. A good wind carried them, a mist followed, and one day, however, the Ancient Mariner shot the albatross with his crossbow and killed the albatross on impulse. Suddenly the wind and the mist ceased, and the ship was stagnant on the ocean. The other sailors alternately blamed the Ancient Mariner for making the wind die. Then things began to go awry. The sun became blindingly hot, and there was no drinkable water amidst the salty ocean, which tossed with terrifying creatures. The sailors went dumb from their thirst and sunburned lips. They hung the albatross around the Ancient Mariner's neck as a symbol of his sin. After a painful while, a ship appeared on the horizon. The ship was strange. It sailed without wind, and when it crossed in front of the sun, it seemed to imprison the sun. When the ship neared, the Ancient Mariner could see that it was a ghost ship, manned by death in the form of a man and life in death in the form of a beautiful woman. They were gambling for the Ancient Mariner's soul. Suddenly, all of the sailors cursed the Ancient Mariner with their eyes and dropped dead on the deck. Their souls zoomed out of their bodies, each taunting the Ancient Mariner with a sound like that of his crossbow. Their corpses miraculously refused to rot. They stared at him unrelentingly, cursing him with their eyes. One night he noticed some beautiful water snakes. Watching the creatures brought him unprecedented joy, and he blessed them without meaning to. When he was finally able to pray, the albatross fell from his neck and sank into the sea. He could finally sleep and dreamed of water. When he woke, it was raining. Once the ship reached the equator again, the ship jolted, causing the Ancient Mariner to fall unconscious. He heard two voices discussing his fate. They said he would continue to be punished for killing the albatross, who was loved by a spirit. Then they disappeared. When the Ancient Mariner awoke, the dead sailors were grouped together, all cursing him with their eyes once more. Suddenly, however, they disappeared as well. The Ancient Mariner realized that he was doomed to be hunted by them forever. The wind picked up, and the Ancient Mariner spotted his native country's shore. Then bright angels appeared, standing over every corpse, and waved silently to the shore, serving as to guide the ship home. The Ancient Mariner was overjoyed to see a pilot, his boy, and a hermit. He planned to ask the hermit to absolve him of his sin. The natural world, the physical. In a mood typical of romantic poets, both preceding and following Coleridge, and especially typical of his colleague William Wordsworth, Coleridge emphasizes the way in which the natural world thwarts and asserts its awesome power over man. At times, the natural world seems to be a character itself, based on the way it interacts with the ancient mariner. From the moment the ancient mariner offends the spirit of the rime, retribution comes in the forms of natural phenomena. The wind dies, the sun intensifies, and it will not rain. The ocean becomes revolting, rotting, and thrashing with slimy creatures and sizzling with strange fires. Only when the ancient mariner expresses love for the natural world, the water snake does his punishment abate even slightly. At the poem's end, the ancient mariner preaches respect for the natural world as a way to remain in good standing with the spiritual world, because in order to respect God, one must respect all of his creations. In his final advice to the wedding guest, the ancient mariner affirms that one can access the sublime, the image of a greater and better world, only by seeing the value of the mundane, the petty things of daily life. The spiritual world, the metaphysical. The ancient mariner shoots the albatross as if to prove that it is not an airy spirit, but rather a mortal creature. In a symbolic way, he tries to classify the albatross, the urge, to define things, shooting it from the sky as though he needs to bring it into the physical, definable real. Rather than address him directly, the supernatural communicates through the natural. When the dead men come alive to curse the ancient mariner with their eyes, things that are natural, their corpses are inhabited by a powerful spirit. The ancient mariner detects spirits in their pure form several times in the poem. Even then, they talk only about him and not to him. When the ghost ship carrying death and life in death sails by, the ancient mariner overhears them gambling. Then, when he dies unconscious on the deck, he hears the first voice and second voice discussing his fate. When angels appear over the sailors' corpses near the shore, they do not talk to the ancient mariner, but only guide his ship. In all these instances, it is unclear whether the spirits are real or figments of his imagination. Liminality. The rime of the ancient mariner typifies the romantic fascination with liminal spaces. A liminal space is defined as a place between two realms, signifies a liminal state of mind, such as the threshold of the imagination's wonders. Romantics valorize the liminal space and state as places where one can experience the sublime. For this reason, they are often, and especially in the case of Coleridge's poems, associated with drug-induced euphoria. Following from this, liminal spaces and states are those in which pain and pleasure are inextricable. Romantic poets frequently had their protagonists enter liminal spaces and become irreversibly changed. In the rime of the ancient mariner, Coleridge expresses a fascination with the liminal state between the spiritual and natural, or the mundane and the divine, or bewildering and cause pain. The first liminal space, the equator, to the icy world of the rime. The rime fits the archetype of the romantic liminal space in that it's simultaneously terrifying and beautiful, whereas the open ocean is a wild territory representing the mysteries of the mind and the sublime. As a liminal space, it holds great power, and indeed a powerful spirit inhabits the rime. As punishment for his crime of killing the albatross, the ancient mariner is sentenced to life and death, condemned to be trapped in a limbo-like state where his glittering eye tells of both powerful genius and pain. He can compel others to listen to his story from beginning to end, but is forced to do so to relieve his pain. The ancient mariner is caught in a liminal state that, as in much of poetry, is comparable to addiction. The ancient mariner suffers because of his experience in the rime and afterwards, but has also been extremely close to the divine and sublime because of it. Therefore, his curse is somewhat of a blessing. Great and unusual knowledge accompanies his pain. Religion. The ancient mariner's shooting of the albatross can be compared to several Judeo-Christian stories of betrayal, including the original sin of Adam and Eve and Cain's betrayal of Abel. Like Adam and Eve, the ancient mariner fails to respect God's rules, existing in a limbo-like rather than an Eden-like state. However, as a son of Adam and Eve, the ancient mariner is already a sinner and cast out of the divine realm. Like Cain, the ancient mariner angers God by killing another creature. Most obviously, the ancient mariner can be seen as an archetypal Judas, or the universal sinner who betrays Christ by sinning. Like Judas, he murders the Christian soul who could lead to his salvation. Many readers have interpreted the albatross as Christ, since it is the rime spirit's favorite creature, and the ancient mariner pays dearly for killing it. The albatross is even hung around the ancient mariner's neck to mark him for his sin, though the rain baptizes him after he is finally able to pray, like a real baptism. Retribution. Even before the sailors die, the punishment is extensive. They become delirious from a debilitating state of thirst. Their lips bake black in the sun, and they must endure the torment of seeing water all around them while being unable to drink it for its saltiness. There are at least two ways to interpret the fact that the sailors suffer from the ancient mariner, although they themselves have not erred. The first is that a retribution is blind, inspired by anger and the desire to punish others. Even a spirit may hurt the wrong people. The second is that the sailors are imprisoned in the ancient mariner's crime. If the ancient mariner represents the universal sinner, then each sailor as a human is guilty of having at some point disrespected one of God's creatures, or if not, he would have in the future.